afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to our SideEvent, which has the title Empowering Youth and Community Climate Action and Carbon Markets with Digital Public Infrastructure. And today's SideEvent is being organized together by the International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges, IAAI, the Climate Change Coalition, the Ecological Projects Development and Support Fund, Eurasian Carbon Fund, Rotary International, and the United Youth Initiative for Africa. With today's event, we want to dive deeper into the topic of digital public infrastructure. You might have heard this topic, this slogan now quite often here at COP30. It's really the game changer. It's the new approach of inclusion of the digital innovation dimension in Paris Agreement implementation that the Brazilian COP30 presidency is championing. And we, as the representatives of the digital innovation community and also the partners of the Digital Innovation Pavilion here in the Blue Zone, we are, of course, celebrating this new development and this leadership. Today's speakers, next slide please, will be Noah Badolin from United Youth Initiative for Africa. He will speak to us through a pre-recorded video message because there were issues with his flight. We have on our agenda Clara Tomé, climate justice and rights of nature advocate. We have met her yesterday, really a very passionate leader, also critical regarding carbon markets in the sense that she calls for justice and really effective carbon markets, no greenwashing or distraction. I'm Miroslav Polzer, I'm with IAAI Lodger in the Climate Change Coalition. Alexei Chadrin from EverCity, and he's also founding member of the Climate Change Coalition. Victoria Burrows, Strategic Partnerships and Insights from Compass. We see Alberto Palombo from Rotary Environmental and Sustainability Rotary Action Group. And we have been informed by our co-organizer, the United Youth Initiative for Africa, that there will be also Matthias Naab, the director of the Regional Service Center for Africa from UNDP. And we are happy also to have our friends from Mongolia, Bat Urzi Bajulun, Director General Policy Planning Department of the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change from Mongolia. As the two panelists have not come, please just join us here. We have waited long enough for them to join. I think the name is there. Yes, the name is there. So, as the topic of the event is, yes, here please, is empowering youth and community climate action with carbon markets and digital public infrastructure. We have, so to say, two pillars at our SideEvent today. One is this empowerment of local level climate action with a specific focus on youth, and the other one is on carbon market readiness. And so let's start therefore with a youth voice with our co-organizer Noah Badolin, United Youth Initiative for Africa. Please, if we could see the video.
Hi everyone, my name is the General Manager for the United Youth Initiative for Africa, UNIYIA. I am really excited to be able to send this video in and to join you all at COP30, basically to share with you what we, the Ghanaian youth, are doing when it comes to utilizing public digital infrastructure to advance green jobs, green enterprises, the carbon market, and as well as community-driven climate initiatives. Basically for us at UNIYIA, over the years we have been able to establish projects and also be able to train people when it comes to establishing green businesses and also also bring jobs and skills across. One of the things that we have discovered so far is the fact that when we talk about digital infrastructure or public digital infrastructure, it is more like the tissue that connects green transition for us in our space. Now, majority of the things that we do must be data-driven. We must have data to be able to measure the impacts of the projects that we are doing. And we can see this as we establish and we recently launched the Green Business Tracker, which is also tracking green jobs in the system. It's the first of its kind in Ghana. This is to help in terms of accountability. It's to also help in terms of the youth-led initiatives that are contributing to meeting the ambitious goals that the country has set when it comes to the NDCs. So for us, this Green Business and Jobs Tracker is not just a database system, it's more of a bridge. We're bridging the gap between the policymakers, government, investors, and also communities. We're looking at a platform where whether you are from a rural community or urban community, so long as we can have access to registering your business on this platform, you are able to measure the impacts that you are having. We are able to tell investors that young Ghanaians are making this amount of impact when it comes to emission reduction. We are able to connect people to carbon credits, they are able to trade on this platform as well. The idea also is that we are able to have young cooperatives or whether women cooperatives come together, have verified data for the products that we are producing and also verified data for the emission reductions that we are sorting out so that they are able to benefit when it comes to carbon financing. We are also able to connect people to private financing generally. Now the idea is also to be able to track when we talk about the type of resources we are using to produce or in our businesses. So if someone is into recycling, can we be able to track the quantity of plastics that we are saving when it comes to the environmental space? Can we track the quantity of when it comes to agriculture waste? Can we track the quantities, the numbers? Are we able to have data to prove that this business has been able to save this amount of carbon emissions? And this is what the platform looks to do when it comes to our Green Business Tracker. Now we are also looking in the nearby future to also have collaborations with the global north when it comes to best practices to be able to exchange information and also knowledge on this. The idea also when we recently launched the Ghana Youth Climate Action Roadmap, which looks at a 5-year roadmap looking at achieving certain goals by 2030. Digital public infrastructure was one of the core things that we infused in this. We want to have a data-driven youth initiatives that are across the 60 regions. So for us at UNIYIA, this is the focal thing that we do when it comes to our programs and our projects. And we're excited to have shared this with you. Thank you so much for making time to listen. Hi everyone, my name is
Thank you very much, Noban. Yeah, this is now the slide for me. I would like to present you now the work that my organization is doing, IAAI Ecological, in the field of youth empowerment for climate action and also in the field of digital public infrastructure for action for climate empowerment and carbon markets readiness. So we are here to unlock the power of youth for local action for climate, SDGs and beyond. My organization IAAI is a UNFCCC accredited observer organization based in Austria, and our vision is to empower everyone everywhere to take meaningful and rewarding action for the common good and to build the global challenges action partnership with the 3 pillars: culture, technology, and organizational innovation. Brief thematic introduction. We see that global challenges are growing and that the SDGs implementation is low, and that the existing global governance model, the existing global challenges response mechanism is not effective enough, and that we need innovation. And and it's also the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, in his Our Common Agenda report said we urgently need a renewed social contract, one that allows many more actors to tackle increasingly complex and interconnected problems. And you see that we need an innovation ecosystem in which individuals, civil society, state institutions, and private sector can interact with one another, and this innovation ecosystem. So we have to get the next slides here, please. We are at the meta challenge now. Please. Next slide. Next. And next. This is it. There's a systemic need really to build a better global cooperation architecture, and we believe that digital public infrastructure is a key element, really the transformative approach which will help global community. Next slide. And one more. So digital public infrastructure refers to digital systems and platforms that enable the delivery of services, facilitate data exchange, and support the digital governance across various sectors. DPI includes elements such as digital identity systems, payment platforms, and data exchange protocols designed to be scalable, interoperable, and accessible to both government and private sector participants. These infrastructures aim to support the functioning of public services, governance, and economic processes. It can also be understood as an intermediate layer in the digital ecosystem, enabling applications across various public sectors. So this is really, next slide please, the topic that the COP30 presidency is championing, and it's also the topic which my organization believes that we can contribute significant thematic leadership, but also solutions development leadership. We have developed a Glotcha DPI stack, including challenges mapping tool for knowledge collaboration, and global challenges action registry, geospatial tools, tokenization, and edutainment programs. Next slides, please. And this challenges mapping tool, this is a key solution that we have already developed in the context of an EU program for just energy transition in Central Europe. It gives people the possibility to identify, localize, specify, and report challenges and action potentials in their neighborhood. And this is something that is very near also to the Global Mutirão call of the COP30 presidency. The President, Andrea Correa de Lago, has called for a global Mutirão. Everyone should become engaged and everybody should do self-determined contributions. And with this, our platform, we are contributing to this call, and we are also we have been invited by the COP30 presidency to be one of the global integrators. There are many platforms, solution providers that are connecting this global call with the people on the grassroots level, and that's the DPI approach. 2 slides further, please. Yeah. So we are working on a Good Life app. It's some kind of global challenges action dashboard app in which, based on blockchain technology, there is the documentation and verification, certification of individual action and even intellectual contributions. The starting point here is at the Long Beach City College, our cooperation partner, but we have also schools that are interested in this, and it's aimed to be a legacy initiative, next slide, for the LA 2028 Olympics, Good Life app and AI assistant promoting a healthy lifestyle, healthy communities, and healthy planet. Next slide there. So this kind of information and platform about identities, registries, and data exchange protocols, digital finance, and geospatial tools. This is also the basis which we believe can unlock local climate finance for local-led climate action on a massive scale. And we have had a workshop on this topic in Bonn in June. And 2 slides further. So just quick information that when we look at these solutions, we cannot do this alone. We need to join forces. We don't have time for egoism. We need to be cooperative. And here a leading ecosystem is the Climate Change Coalition. Alexei might also say more about it. It's a network of 350 organizations working on how to use blockchain and other emerging technologies for enhanced climate action. And yeah, Digital Innovation Pavilion, will you say something? Just showing the slide, Alexei will say more, but that you have a visual about the view. 2 slides further. Here it is, yeah. Digital Innovation Pavilion, BVC 90 is our name. And next slide, just to reiterate that this COP30 precedence is a window of opportunity for leveraging digital public infrastructure for climate action empowerment, and that we can be one of the leaders there. 2 slides further, just to have a quote also from COP30 presidency, DPI leader, Pedro da Silva, who has been one of our speakers at our International Youth Day. One more slide further. We had an International Youth Day celebration, and Pedro da Silva said, digital public infrastructure can connect our actions and our impacts with the world. With digital public infrastructure, let's build roads and bridges of the digital world so that every climate action can be seen, supported, and scaled. DPIs can make local action visible by showing who is doing what, where, and with what impact. It can enable accountability, and it is important to channel resources, getting climate finance, incentives, and knowledge to the right people in a faster way. And with this, 2 slides further, please. I'm sharing here my contact. Everybody welcome to connect with us. And now I will give the floor to Alexei Shadrin, my colleague in crime.
Thanks, thank you, Miro. So maybe I should, maybe I should tell like a story.
Please,
my favorite story.
We love the story.
Getting older, so 35 now, so my last youth year as classified by the UN. And so I'm starting to get into these stories, the old man stories. So yeah, indeed, in 2017, when we met with Miroslav, we shared an application for an exhibition booth, which was a small one, 2 square meter booth, which was named Blockchain for Climate, and that was in the Blue Zone. We were the only crazy guys in the room with the blockchain name on top of our booth. But that sparked actually a lot of interest, and that was the 2017 wild years for blockchain and Bitcoin. If people are familiar, then you know what I'm talking about. And people were coming up to us saying, yeah, guys, blockchain. And these were very interesting people, actually. Some of them are here in the room, like this gentleman from the UNIYIA Secretariat. We realized that we're not the only crazy guys in the room, and the crazy guys are all around. Crazy in the way that they all share the same vision that digital technologies can help us solve some of the most important challenges that climate finance and sustainability movement faces. Challenges like greenwashing, challenges like fair attribution of impact and financing to the most in need. And liquidity, scaling the finance we need to bridge the SDG financing gap, which is still have not been scaled. And that was already, eight years ago in Bonn. Since then, the community started growing. We saw many more people from all around the world joining the Climate Change Coalition, supporting this. United Policy Secretariat actually supported the coalition a lot and launched their own initiative, which is called the United Nations Global Climate Change Innovation Hub, that runs systemic innovation workshops. And by the way, I'm using this opportunity to invite you to one of these workshops that will be on Saturday. If you need more information, this gentleman there would be happy to give you more info and invite you to participate in this systemic innovation workshop, where we get together to solve some of the pressing challenges that the Paris Agreement and climate is facing right now. And this all created a very strong momentum. This all created a very strong advocacy power. So we've been meeting not only at COPs, we've been meeting in Bonn in June during the supervisory body meetings. We've been meeting in New York and collaborating with many people across UN agencies, across the private sector, NGOs, indigenous groups, to say that digital technologies can really help us achieve our common goals. And now we are happy to see that this message was heard by the Brazilian presidency. We see that one of the legacy initiatives of Brazil is digital public infrastructure. And this is exactly what we've all been doing all this time, all these years now. From a small crazy booth with blockchain in the exhibition area, we grew into the Digital Innovation Pavilion, which is now the home for all sorts of innovative use cases in climate finance and beyond climate finance, in culture, in youth, art, and many other things that are surrounding the UN negotiations process on the Paris Agreement. So now Digital Innovation Pavilion is a strong brand. It really represents advanced knowledge, advanced use cases on different aspects. We already had great sessions this week regarding digital early stage climate projects financing, regarding interesting sessions with the ITU and GIZ. Tomorrow we are also inviting you to visit the digital carbon market session, and also the digital green bond session, where latest report on the digital blockchain-based green bonds will be presented. Report that outlines different use cases that the banks are doing right now on this innovative instrument. And we'll have also Sean Keaveney, the creator of the Climate Bonds Initiative, and some of the other investors and experts to discuss how digitization is transforming the green bond industry, solving the transparency, greenwashing challenges, and providing more liquidity, instant settlements, and cheaper management of such instruments. So this is all very interesting. And if we compare what was 8 years ago and now, the world has made tremendously further. Digital technologies are now at the highest level of the UN agenda, and we're starting to see the real implementations all across the globe. Of course, talking about implementations, we saw, first of all, digital registries. And we all know CAP-Trust, an initiative by UNDP that was created to provide some interoperability and introduce blockchain for the carbon market registries to track all the projects and carbon credits in a more transparent way, and integrate international national registries, right? We saw that Paris Agreement already has some digitization components in it. In the Article 6, it's a pathway to further digitize those methodologies. And we've seen initiatives like the open source methodology database that United Nations Innovation Hub supported, that is led by Hedera Foundation. We're also part of this process, meaning that we are We have a community that puts carbon methodologies online, on-chain, on the open source, so that anyone can access them and use them to digitize carbon projects and project design documents, even digitize the carbon calculations, and anyone can access it and use in their own applications. So that's a wonderful example, I guess, of the work that Digital Innovation Pavilion, Climate Change Coalition has been supporting. But of course, I want to say a few words about our yesterday's presentation with the government of Uganda. For me, as a tech company, as a company that develops digital public infrastructure, this is a major victory, major achievement. Because for the first time in the entire world, a party member of the UNFCCC has actually implemented the digital infrastructure for their carbon markets. What I mean by that is that it's much more than a registry that just tracks the deals or the projects and how many credits are there. It's much bigger than that. It's some sort of a digital factory that transforms ideas that are brought bottom up by communities into investable assets and even portfolios of assets, providing support at every step of the origination life cycle, helping to create all the documents, helping to create carbon calculations, helping to meet the high integrity standards that investors are expecting. And also has the integration with the leading global standards like BERA, as well as the integration with the national Article 6 framework. And being endorsed by the government, it provides a transparent and efficient workflow that national projects in Uganda can use to get easily structured, much faster, automating 70% of the whole process that was before done manually by international consultants. So now the knowledge, the technology is staying in Uganda. Ugandans are developing on that. We are just giving it away and helping. So that's a sovereign infrastructure. Uganda is building capacity for their own carbon market players, meaning auditors or carbon experts, MRV providers, because they have smart people there, great universities, great solutions that can sell to the carbon market projects and investors. And so this creates the whole ecosystem. And carbon market is just the beginning. I just came from a meeting with the Uganda government and Islamic Development Bank that is happy to support this approach, happy to provide additional funding and additional tech support to Uganda. And there will be more and more financing sources and instruments that will be added to this platform. So the carbon market is just the first step. The next step for us with Uganda is adding the green bonds or green sukuk to finance the portfolios of carbon projects and connect green bonds with carbon revenues that would originate from the use of proceeds from these bonds. And also use Islamic Development Bank, Green Climate Fund, and all these other development finance institutions to support these portfolio projects, as well as private financing. Now Uganda has the digital rails, the digital backbone to create investable structured portfolio's that match international standards. But Uganda also has the enabling environment because they created the green taxonomy, which is based on the European taxonomy. They have created also the carbon market framework. They are finalizing their sustainable finance framework that will enable them to issue the green bonds. And what Eurasian and the Pearl Carbon platform is doing, because it's no longer Eurasian, it's the Pearl Carbon platform, and Uganda is the Pearl of Africa. That's why. Now, all these taxonomies, all these national standards are being integrated with the Pearl Carbon platform, and all the other financing sources, such as the Islamic Development Bank, will be also streamlined through the platform. And we just had this very fruitful meeting and a very fruitful agreement. So I hope that this model can be a role model we had Brazilian presidency representatives yesterday at the presentation of Uganda platform. Guilherme, the project management for DPI from the Ministry of Innovation and Public Service of Brazil. And we hope that this example can inspire other countries to lead on country platforms and DPIs, and will be included into the final communique or the legacy initiatives of COP30. And we of course hope that other countries would be inspired by our approach, would be using the open source parts that we've been developing together with the Climate Change Coalition and Hidera ecosystem members, and maybe also work with Uganda, because what also was really great at the end of the meeting with Islamic Development Bank, their head of climate mentioned something very remarkable. He said, look, now Uganda has everything, the enabling environment, the tech infrastructure, and it's now time to Uganda to share this experience with other African countries. So maybe you guys become now the guides, those who will share the experience, and other countries will follow. And that's, I guess, my message. I hope that other countries can follow. We're having more meetings here, and our solutions can find their place in those countries and contribute to a fair, sovereign carbon markets and climate finance.
Bravo. Congratulations, Alexei. Congratulations also to Uganda for its leadership. It was really one of the great stories of COP is how well the DPI work of Uganda has been received in all venues, with
all dinners, all panels.
They've been the stars everywhere, and it's really great. And talking about stars, we have Victoria Burrows, Strategic Partnerships and Insights from Compass VC. Please, could you share your perspectives on digital public infrastructure, and what are the potentials, what are the challenges, and the way forward?
I will try my best. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Victoria Burrows. I work at Compass VC. We are a Danish early-stage venture capital fund, and we invest in startups and brilliant founders who have incredible ideas that can help with decarbonising and digitalising some of the hardest to abate sectors, like the built environment, like manufacturing, like heavy industry. Hi! Welcome! So we focus on those startups that have some of those ideas to help with decarbonisation. And of course that means investing in some solutions that have AI components into them. So we as a fund believe that AI can be an enormous contributor towards climate progress and of course our digital progress and our future in society and humanity. And it can also be a huge amplifier of youth climate leadership, the biggest that we've ever seen potentially, but only if we make sure it empowers and doesn't replace the thinking, judgment and lived expertise of young people and all of the experience that we have at our fingertips. We know that these days AI is no longer optional, right? It's embedded within everything we do. We can use it to measure carbon, we can balance energy systems, we can verify climate action, and we can run markets. And I know we're going to touch on the carbon markets a bit more. But we are also conscious that as we increase use of AI and digital technology, so does our compute needs and our compute demands, and therefore the increase of the sorts of infrastructure, physical infrastructure, in addition to the digital infrastructure that is needed to advance these advancements in society. Actually, Deloitte have published some analysis today on AI and the energy transition, and they actually think that AI can save over 3,700 terawatt hours of energy by 2030, which could exceed the amount of energy that AI consumes. But that relies on some serious collaboration and integration of digital data infrastructure platforms so that we can achieve those gains without contributing more to the challenges. And we believe that that integrated data and digital layer is absolutely critical to the advancements of some of these sectors.
Wonderful, thank you. you very much, Victoria. And coming back to the local level and community level action, empowerment and mobilization, and our new friend and comrade on the journey towards a better world is Alberto Palombo. Alberto Palombo is the chair of ESPAC, Environmental and Sustainability Rotary Action Group, chair of the Rotary at COP30, and proud partner of the Digital Innovation Pavilion. Alberto, please tell us.
Principally, the last part. I'm very proud to be a partner, to have brought the SRAC and the Rotarians and the Rotaractors to the Digital Innovation Pavilion. We met in Baku, we clicked, and then in the first conversation, because see, in Baku, this session was all youth. But we are glad that we have older that are not so youth anymore, but inspiring anyways. One of the things that, thank you, Miro, for the kind introduction. I'm here representing SRAC and the Rotarians and Rotaractors, and we are probably the world's better known volunteer organization. We are 1.4 million Rotarians and Rotaractors in more than 200 countries and regions in the world, and in 46,000 communities. So that brings us some specific opportunities to put the test for the digital public infrastructure. And that is something that it is very, very attractive, especially for the newer generations, the digital natives, as we call them. And, but just to start our conversation here with you, technology alone cannot scale climate action unless it reaches people, communities, and youth where climate impacts actually happen. See, we are going to be talking about this for many years to come. And we can have an excellent conversation on the technical advances that we are making, but unless they are appropriated by people, as you know, is as ignoring the work that Gutenberg did with the press. Actually, when talking about digital public infrastructure, I would like to believe that Rotarians, Rotaractors bring the credibility, let's say, for the last mile of the digital infrastructure. Because as we trust technology, we need to have trusted local networks, communities, legitimacy, and the capacity to mobilize and measure action at the scale. Unless we have a strategy not only to bring what is the necessary information to make appropriate decisions at the local level, we also need to make sure that the world knows that that is not fake news. For example, just to bring something to spice a little bit our conversation. And when integrated digital public infrastructure is made available, community actions become verifiable, finance-ready, and globally connected. But technology is not going to do that, I repeat, by itself, unless it is human-powered and human-led initiatives. This is going nowhere. Okay? And my message initially, I don't know if we're going to have a couple of rounds, is that DPI and civic networks are actually the climate impact impact that is both measurable and equitable. When we are talking about climate justice, why don't we, instead of putting a negative connotation, we bring it to the positive side, to the optimism. After all, we're talking about the youth that we're getting from this. That's the title of this session. Because if we don't trust the youth that they're going to inherit processes that they can take on, like in a marathon in the Olympics, in these Olympics of the world, racing to curb the climate impact. Well, you know, we are pretty much just walking from. And the world is turning around faster and faster and hotter and hotter. Who knows for what is the portion attributable to humans, but anyway, the evidence shows that there is global warming. You know, we can talk for hours about this, but I want to give the opportunity to some of my other colleagues in the panel to make remarks, and perhaps Miroslav, at the end we can talk some specifics.
Right. And it's really, you said this last mile, that's critical. We need to build digital public infrastructure has the potential to be the trust infrastructure, but we need really the people who are using it in a trustworthy manner, and that it will be then adoption of this technology, trust in the technology. And here, Rotary with your 1.2 million members can really be the validators then of the action, but also the source of micro impact entrepreneurs, because this new tools, these new infrastructures, this will create job opportunities really for tens of millions of people. And the idea and the plan is that your networks will be our pilot use case, and we will be successful together. Now, as you also mentioned, it's also about positive thinking and also technology adoption and use, and so, and therefore I'm delighted to give the floor to Charlotte Pin, Executive Director at Meeting of Waters, activist, daughter of God, science, culture, policy, AI, CERN, LLMs, bravo. And you have really this cultural dimension combined with emerging tech and entrepreneurship. And we really need not only to reach the brains of the people, but also the hearts, and therefore I'm giving you the floor to win the hearts of our audience.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the inspiring speeches so far. So, as introduced, my name is Charlotte Sheen. I am an artist. Hello. It's out of battery. Maybe it's not yet. So, thanks again. My name is Charlotte Sheen. I am an artist by profession, and 4 years ago I started this initiative supported by the youth movement globally for the climate and for water. It's called Meeting of Waters. And today, since 2024, we are an NGO based in Geneva, Switzerland, the hub for many NGOs and dreamers across the world. And today I represent not only my organization, but also waters. Water that flows through us, our bodies, and flows through our atmosphere, that makes up the climate, but also the rivers flowing from the Amazons, the glaciers that is melting down from the very top of our atmosphere. My journey, talking about story sharing, may I say I'm still youth, considered by UN. I also bringing another perspective as an artist working in tech again today. So my journey actually started as a physics student at McGill University, and at that time my dream was to work for the biggest particle collider, CERN, Large Hadron Collider in Geneva. And dream came true quite quickly. And then I realized that actually my initial dream as a child, as growing up, has always been an artist. And there's an issue that touches my heart that is always the environment, more specifically water. Because water is actually, we talk about carbon credit, but water is the transaction, the currency for all transactions. Every meal that we eat, every fish that we consume on our table, and even the clothes that we wear, it's all virtual water. There is hidden cost on the water. And this can be the water to use to save a community that is starving, that is thirsty. If we don't solve SG6, how do we have the privilege to talk about education, gender equality, as well as life on land, if we don't even have drinking water, clean water? And climate, again, is manifested by water. Too much, too little, polluted, mismanaged, exploited, and groundwater that is invisible. It's all threatening our future and present more and more. I started this initiative because this topic is really touching my heart, and I cannot stand the working condition of in the office where I hear youth protesting on the street, and I cannot stand getting a nice salary while my impact of my work is not reaching the future that I want to see. That's why art came back to my life. I've always been artistic since I was a child, and I had achieved some personal success as an artist over 5 years by selling art, trading art, exhibiting art, but somehow that brought me back to the tech again. Because as I mentioned before, I was trained as a physicist, I worked in AI, I also had brilliant colleagues and internships in London from the Royal College of Art, Imperial College of London, and also Nokia Bell Labs. And so with all this background, at that time I thought I left everything behind to pursue art, to pursue water. But I didn't realize that maybe it's this higher power, it's God, that is making all the dots connecting. My journey through art, my very indigenous connection with water, with the earth. I consider every one of us as indigenous. We all come from somewhere. We all come from a piece of land, and we need to connect with the land below us. And I believe that the technology today, we have a very conventional narrative around how it's been used, how it is being delivered, and how it can help the world. And without realizing that the same technology that I'm using today, and I had an internship, I did an internship in this 7 years ago, but I did not know I would come back to this better version and use exactly for my purpose, for my art. This is mixed reality, and we're currently developing our mixed reality experience about water. How do we experience the water of the planet as if it was a heartbeat? It's a physiological pulses of the planet. Just if you imagine the planet as a living organism, and it's water at different levels, from groundwater to rivers to lakes to the ocean atmosphere, they are constantly flowing and communicating, sending out nervous system signals to the scientists that are constantly collecting these data. We produce so much data, but we're so terrible at telling a story that is moving people's heart. And it's not our fault, because I think artists is not yet at the center of this movement, and we need more and more cultural workers, artists, to connect with scientists, to work with policymakers, to bring the stories to every person's heart. And change has to start from each person's heart. And water had touched me, had softened my heart, changed my life, changed my career path, and brought me back to tech, the technology that seemed to be in competition with our natural resources can eventually share the same vision with us. And I do believe that there's stewardship needed also in the AI industry. tech industries, we need to really align our common goals together. And this is happening at this conference, which I truly appreciate. And I think my job is not only connecting art and science. I grew up in Canada and China, now living in Switzerland, connecting cultures as well, and bringing religion to this topic, because in this moment of uncertainty, we need God, we need wisdom, guidance more than ever. I'm also connecting this intuitive knowledge, the traditional knowledge that we sense and embody, and to the technology that is programmed and based on this rationality and technicality. And what is better than all of these meetings of waters right here? And I hope you could follow our work, you could support youth artists who are fighting with you. And thank you for your attention, for the opportunity to hear.
Some ad hoc management and program development. So Victoria has suggested that we invite Sarah Diaz, who is in the room with us, young, very young climate activist from Colombia, who has spoken very inspiringly yesterday at the event with the First Lady of Brazil. And we have Alberto, he will translate. So we would be really delighted if we could have some thoughts from the future. You can sit here.
Sit here.
You are the boss.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sara Sofía Díaz León. Me parece muy importante este espacio de juventudes porque, por ejemplo, iba muy de la mano con lo que yo vine o mi propósito de venir a esta COP, porque mi propósito es representar a esos niños de, por ejemplo, mi país, Colombia, que en muchas partes no tienen la oportunidad de alzar su voz. Y de hecho, a principios de año, cuando empecé este proyecto de asistir a esta COP, decidí empezar un recorrido por los colegios de mi departamento en Colombia con unos talleres muy didácticos y fáciles de entender sobre qué era una COP y qué temas acá se tratan, con niños y adolescentes en edades entre 11 y 16 años.
Sara from Colombia, Sara Diaz from Colombia, she has a lot of inspiration in all the problems that she has seen at school, reading about climate change, and how her colleagues at the school have been experiencing challenges in her native in the department of province of Santander, which is an area that is very, has a lot of mountains, it has a lot of rivers, and they have a lot of youth are worried about the climate condition, the climate change impacts.
Bueno, continúo. Traigo un mensaje.
She brings a message.
Y es lo que, estas son 2,000 voces de niños y adolescentes.
It's 2,000 voices of children and youth.
De Colombia, en mi país.
From Colombia, from her country.
Y aquí hay, por ejemplo, acá atrás están las conclusiones.
And at the end of the document is the conclusion, of course.
Estas son las conclusiones que con mi familia sacamos de este proyecto que nosotros, de mi proyecto, que se llama Camino a la COP30 del clima en Brasil.
Okay, and at the end, there is a number of, are the conclusions came up with some 8 points of her paper is my road to COP30 in Brazil.
Donde la voz de los jóvenes también, de los jóvenes y de los niños también se tiene en cuenta.
Where, you know, we need to take into account the voices, the contributions from the children and the youth to these complex themes.
Y las personas, organizaciones que quieran leerlo,
And the
nosotros,
persons that want to read about it,
nosotros se lo regalamos. Y pues
we're going to offer to you.
y espero que las personas u organizaciones
And I hope that the people and the organizations
consideren cada letra y cada palabra que está escrita
can understand every letter, every sentence that we have written with so much care.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias and all the best. All the best. May the future be bright and safe. Thank you. That's really beautiful. Yeah, that's what we are working for. And in terms of who can advance this topic, digital public infrastructure, ministries, national governments play a key role, and we are delighted to have really Mongolia leading in this field with your work on carbon market readiness, with order. We had your young colleagues, entrepreneurs, Zolo and they are really also champions in your country, are supporting them, you are working with them in the run up to the next conference of parties for the UN Convention to combating desertification, and we are delighted that you are today here with us to share your perspectives. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Before I talk about Mongolian perspective, I'd like to know how many of you in Mongolia? Do you have one? In Mongolia, how? Is there anyone? No one else? Only one? Okay. So you're the lucky, one of the luckiest people very few people who actually visited the land of grassland, vast grassland, land of eternal blue sky, land of horses. We have the highest GDP, horse GDP, we call it, because everyone has almost 2 horses now. And just want to share that this kind of information would be interesting and more understand about Mongolia. We have very high in youth too. More than 35% is actually youth in Mongolia, and because of so many youngsters are actively working with start using the technology and also working with government to digitalize the government services. That's why many people actually, more than 2 million people, which is actually more than 95% of the whole adult is using digital services, government digital services. We have this e-Mongolia app. We digitalized 1,200, more than 1,200 of government services. We can get it from the app, and so many sectors are government services are adding to the system, unified, and now our ministry's goal is to add more information about the climate change of Mongolia and all the nature data. And we don't have specific like whole one platform yet, but we're working on it. And because you just mentioned that Mongolia is also, even though we have like, it's like 3 times, 4 times bigger forest than the Norwegian, no, Austria, 4 times bigger area of forest, but actually we see it as a very few forest, and because we have like so many different areas that we have, the Gobi Desert is very big, grasslands are big, so we see this, we think we don't have much forest, but actually we have a lot, and we have to protect it. And from this year we actually talked about why we're doing this COP30 UNCCD next year is because more than 76% of the whole land is affected by the desertification, and it has many reasons: climate change, human, and many reasons. Right? So next year would be more of Mongolia. We want this COP17 to be for everyone else, every country to use this opportunity to maybe not just talk about desertification, it would be more about climate change, carbon market, and all of those things that can be helpful for everyone else. And next year, we're actually launching a few initiatives, such as Waterland Foundation, and actually, sorry, I'm talking. I just skipped some. Is it okay? Do I still have time?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, that's good. In our updated ATC 3.0, Mongolia has actually elevated the role of nature at the heart of climate policy. We have integrated ecosystem protection, forest and pasture land restoration, and water resource management into our emission reduction and adaptation goals. And this year we actually signed the agreement with Singapore on Article 6, and this in here. After a few days, we are going to sign again same agreement with the Swiss in COP30. So very happy to say that, and I just want to mark the date. Next year, COP17 would be on August 17th of 2026. Thank you.
So now we have the possibility to invite some perspectives from the audience. Would somebody like to comment, add on, present their own experiences? Alex says he wants to say something. Jonas, oh please, you come. Please come and take the phone here, so that the world will see you.
Okay, so my name is Han Chun and I come I'm from China, but now I'm studying in Germany. I research AI and urban ecosystem, so I participate a lot of meeting in the Digital Innovation Pavilion. And I have a question for Mr. Alexi, because you say you have some connection with the Uganda government to push the carbon market project. So I would like to ask, when a developing country wants to implement the carbon market, should they or do they need any basic condition to push the carbon market? Because I look around a lot of pavilion and they always talk about the market, the carbon market, but I don't know, do they need any basic condition for them, the law, for example, the digital infrastructure, and then they can do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, there are certain conditions that they have to meet if they want to be aligned with the reality of the UN process, the Paris Agreement process. And Uganda is actually a great example because they already have everything. And this is so-called the enabling environment, which means that they need to have their updated NDC, right? So their emission reduction goals, in understanding of which sectors are subject to those emission reductions submitted to the UNFCCC and IPCC, right? And next, they need to have their country-level carbon market framework. So this is something that the government needs to do in order to clearly define the rules of the national carbon market, whether it's a compliance market, whether and define the sectors that are compliant with this market, and also define how they will participate in international market mechanisms under the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. When the government shows a clear sign to the market, to the private sector, then the innovators start to innovate and the money starts flowing. So the implementation of our digital platform would not be that successful if Uganda didn't have their carbon market framework already, and if they didn't have made up their mind regarding the legal reality of the carbon markets aligned with the reality of the Paris Agreement. So this is very important, and there are many players who can support the government in defining those rules. And once the market sees the signal from the government, it starts to react. And the digital platform, digital infrastructure, can be deployed in parallel with that, because digital infrastructure supports the government in their decision-making process, in understanding their project's pipeline, in providing certain approvals under the Article 6 procedures, and provides overall transparency and traceability. And what is also very important, that such platforms, such solutions on the country level, they can help the government understand which type of financing is best for which project, because carbon market is not a silver bullet. It cannot solve all the problems, and there are certain other types of financing, like green debt instruments, green bonds, green loans. There is philanthropic capital that is happy to finance early stages of the project, covering the feasibility study, for example, where no one is really giving this money, right? Also, there could be tranches from development finance institutions, development banks, green climate fund, that can also be channeled towards the portfolio of projects and finance this portfolio. So The digital infrastructure, I would say nowadays, is as important as the legal infrastructure, and they should be developed in parallel. In the absence of one of them, the market will not be that efficient. Yes, the voluntary market will still be possible, but the real money, the real investment comes when the government provides very clear pathway and roadmap for the market development, and if they understand and support the marketplace and give clear signals. So, hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Alexei, and thanks to our very loyal Digital Innovation Pavilion guest. So, Jonas is there. Please come forward, and then we have you as well. Shell. You have 2 minutes or less, and then please give the microphone to the colleague.
Thank you very much for this very interesting and very thoughtful presentation that you're giving it. My question is a little bit about the barrier that this small and community-led project also face to access high-value markets. So, because oftentimes, while additional public infrastructure can lower the MRV costs, community-based carbon projects can face significant hurdles, right, in accessing the compliance market, and are oftentimes then just relegated to the voluntary market. So, what kind of concrete measures from the policy regulatory shifts do you need from the UNFCCC or from the other state actors to access Article 6.2 or 6.4 market? Maybe I think it would be also possible to have them on the national compliance markets for those countries who have national compliance markets. That would of course be easier, but I think maybe if you can tell me a little bit about it, how we need to kind of maybe get from the proceeds of it something that we can bring back to enable this.
Thank you very much. Can you give the microphone to the colleague there?
Hello everyone, I'm Ecological from India, and we have been also piloting some digital infrastructure to calculate how the carbon is getting passed across the value chains in particular. What we're facing normally is how do we lead to the adoption of such infrastructure, even though when we create the pilot technologies are there, how do we incentivize the players to actually adopt those DPIs? I think that is a big challenge which we face, and I would like to know from you guys how you have gone about in Uganda or the other places you have tried to.
Yeah, but I guess that Domenico will also say a word. Domenico, and then we will come to the panel and conclude here.
So, thank you very much for the talk. Sorry for coming late, but I was coming in a moment that I find very interesting, especially regarding the role of youth with carbon markets. How do you think that we can empower youth to enter into this market? Because finally, these new markets can benefit really the youth, but the problem is that sometimes they're very complicated, sometimes that different markets are not interoperable, and so on and so forth. So how do you think can be the instruments that we can use to train youth in entering these markets? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Domenico Vito. And now back to the podium, starting with Alexei, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to answer the gentleman's question, and maybe that could also be my message. So, yes, of course, the challenge is to get the right people in the room and to convene the right team from the government to implement those DPIs. Because giving you the example of Uganda, last year in Baku we hosted a SideEvent in collaboration with Uganda, and there were several ministries present there. Some of these ministries and people from these ministries, they saw each other in person for the first time in their lives, although they're sitting in the same city, going to the same supermarkets, you know, etc., etc. So they're like, oh, I've seen you on Zoom. Oh, you're this guy. So in this case, Digital Innovation Pavilion, Eurasian, Ecological, we provided the convening power for them to meet together and see that they can solve problems together. And this is the challenge, communication in between ministries, because sometimes they're conflicting. And the solution would be to unite them on all under a joint working group. And what we've seen in some African countries, that sometimes digitization agenda is directly managed by the presidential office that has the convening power and has the opportunity to create such working groups where different ministries can collaborate, and the digital ministry can create tools that other ministries would use and collaborate on using those tools together. Because even the GCF project, even carbon market, you need Ministry of Finance, you need Ministry of Environment, you need Ministry of Farming, Energy, and Digital Ministry. So all of these ministries have to work together, otherwise it's not going to fly. And so we're talking now here about like the government innovations, right? The governance practices that has to be improved, and the governments have to learn from the tech sector to be more agile, to be more efficient, and form these groups that would support certain projects. And I think Uganda is a great example of such an approach, and we're seeing this approach that is scaling over other countries. So my message coming from this challenge and the solution would be that COP Digital Innovation Pavilion is a very powerful opportunity for us to get together, strategize, share, learn from each other. And this is exactly what we've been doing all these years, and we're happy to see how, you know, the fruits are now being collected in Uganda and hopefully Mongolia, other countries. That's the message. Let's keep convening, let's keep talking despite anything. We are strong when we're united.
Just let's give Victoria first.
Thank you, very kind. I'd like to respond to the question on regulation. I think that was you, sir. Someone asked about the regulation frameworks. Sorry, And I mentioned a little bit earlier about this idea of having an integrated layer of intelligence that connects all the different sectors within a city, within a market, one that continually learns and optimizes from all the different data points that exist across the market. If you imagine as an investor, how many startups we see a year, let alone more than that, over the course of a fund, who have a solution that relies on certain data sets. And if you're multiplying all of that at once, it's extremely inefficient. And so initiatives like digital and public infrastructure that bring that together makes, the analogy we like to use is if you've got lots of cars on the traffic jam on the way to to the blue zone, for example, versus putting everybody in a bus and using public transport, right? That's the same analogy. So we've been here at COP calling on policymakers to think about what those enabling frameworks would look like to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts all the time, because that, as I mentioned earlier, generates huge amounts of compute demand, which leads to huge amounts of data centers and all of the resources that go with that. And so that's what governments can do. There was some announced on Monday at the roundtable, particularly around governance of AI systems, but we're not quite there yet in terms of the enabling frameworks to make sure that things like this happen extremely efficiently. I think other countries can learn a huge amount from Uganda with the right enabling frameworks, as Alexei mentioned, and hopefully we can keep building on that so that we can be relying on AI to power the future.
Thank you very much. Alberto?
Yeah, I'm going to try to look at it from the other perspective. Is how are they used to? Thinks that DPI is useful. right? Because unless we have a strategy to make sure that the usability of all these proposals, that they are actually value proposals, that they can do something with it, is something that we need to think about. Okay, so for DPI to become a real for communities, it has to be simple, it has to be local, and it has to be trusted. The trust is probably the most important part of all this, because we have so many solutions that we are portraying from the different perspectives. In every COP, it seems like we are coming up with some additional solutions. And it is good that we insist in some concepts, but at the end of the day, we need to look at it, if I can use a systems perspective now, for communities, is a community gateway. In other words, that we can provide some sort of digital onboarding so they can see that usability, and training the youth, again, because they are the digital natives, in order to become some sort of climate stewards. The climate stewardship is something that we have not even mentioned here. But unless we bring the ethics to this, the technology is going to be very, very limited. Not it's because it's not good, it's not useful, it's because the community will not understand how to use it. And just to finish, is that we need to co-create this. We might be the providers of technology, but others need to be the testers, as Miroslav reminded us very, very point blank. And yes, of course, Rotary with a very extensive, we have capillarity. What do you think the Gates Foundation trusts Rotary for the eradication of polio? And not, I will not say who, but it is because we are getting this to the last mile. The last mile is not a concept that was brought here just by chance. It's because we are convinced. We have a few Rotarians and Rotaractors here, Domenico, Gustavo, Lucas, and Stella, and now Miroslav, who's coming next week. And one of the things is having a helping hand. A helping hand to make sure that they understand how to use DPI. Then we have something in hand.
Right. Yeah, looking forward to work on these solutions with you. The future will be bright, and it really needs to create, to provide added value to the user. It needs to be either lowering the transaction costs for something that they would like to do, enhancing access to financial resources, enhancing access and functionality of social networks, or also helping people to build their legacy, having it recognized what they are doing. And the potentials are huge, and congratulations again to the COP30 presidency for choosing this as one of the flagship initiatives. I really believe there are great chances. And Charlotte, would you like to say also something at the beginning? We have 1 minute and 50 seconds, so 55 seconds for you.
Thank you. I'll use time very well. The question addressing the specific issue is not my area of expertise, and I would just really like to express that as an artist, which is rather a privileged profession. Without the support and the resources that I get to access, my job wouldn't exist. But I don't believe that it should be the case where we are seeing today. And in every society, artists are almost like prophets. They bring this sensitivity to the world that we don't feel. If there is no art, there is no beauty, there is no pain, there is no sensibility in this world. So I just want to express that in every different world, global north, global south, there's always that meaningful art in every area of our lives. And we absolutely need to experience art just like we need air, we need water. And one day, if we manage to see technology, AI as natural resources, just how we see water and air, and we can manage it in a more meaningful, more responsible manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. And those who would like to learn more about Charlotte's work, please join us on Monday at noon, I think. The agenda, the schedule of the Digital Innovation Pavilion is on DPI4ACE. And last but Uzi Bachulun, you are concluding. Conclusion, what would you like to say?
Yeah. For me, most of the things I already said it, and thank you for today. Yeah, it's the times for great to be here. Very nice to share about something about UNIYIA. It was very, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all of you to listening. Thank you.
Mongolia will be the leader, the next one after Uganda.
Yeah. And
Next COP.
If you have solutions for combating desertification, please join Mongolia, and the conference of parties 17th in August, next year, August 17th. So, and with this I conclude. I would suggest we give a strong hand of applause for our panelists. Wishing everyone a successful COP. All the best. Good. Memorable photos. Yes, thank you. Can anybody now one with only with panelists.